Good evening, church, and thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Heart and Hands podcast. My name's Cole. I'm the pulpit minister here at Central Church of Christ. We have a real special occasion for you tonight, a real special interview. Just recently, I got to sit down with Aimee Tustin, a domestic missionary who's based out of Pennsylvania here in the United States. And I got to interview her and ask her a bunch of questions ranging from life as a missionary to ministry and to her perspective on a whole bunch of issues. And so, church, I'm really excited for you to get to watch that. We sat down and talked for about 2.5 hours. And so what we've done, if you're watching this on YouTube or Facebook or the church website, is we've broken this interview up into 4 different parts. And so about on the average of about 35 minutes. And so if you're watching this and you just cannot wait and you want to hear the entire thing, you can check out the Heart and Hands podcast on Spotify, and you can check it out on Spotify. You can check out the Heart and Hands podcast on Apple Podcast and Google Play. You can check it all out there if you want to listen to the interview from start to finish without any cuts or edits. And so, church, again, thank you so much for joining us. I pray that this interview, that the discussion that I had with Aimee is a blessing and an encouragement to you. And church, let's get into it. I'm excited. Let's jump into this thing. And church, may the Lord bless you. All right. So Aimee, I've already said you're a domestic missionary. Where's your husband at?
Well, I guess that would be, I actually had somebody ask me before we were at a function, they said, "Who do you belong to?" And I was like, Jesus. That was my answer. So I guess that's going to be my answer today.
So you're a single woman. Mm-hmm. You're a domestic missionary. So you're a missionary here in the United States. Mm-hmm. Where are you working out? Where are you working at? So where's your field?
Well, I had decided after we graduated SIBI, I needed to start back in my hometown location. I've had, people publicly see, I had a very public profession in real estate, and so lots of people saw God transform my life, and is still transforming it. So
where is your hometown?
So this is in a little outside of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and so I started there. But of course, with technology and traveling and all of that, I'm able to touch people wherever they are in the globe. So I guess my work kind of goes wherever.
All right. So you're able to get at, especially with the technology nowadays, you're able to get at really anybody who wants to study.
That's it. So I have, because I have friends in some other countries, and I've had some people in other countries reach out and start asking me some questions because they see just a different, there's something kind of different about me than just what they're used to and the people around them. Wondering where the peace and the confidence and that, there's something going on there. And so I've had people ask in other countries. So technology is a blessing in that sense. Imagine if Paul had Facebook. But obviously the core of it comes from the people that I'm living life beside. So
that's really awesome. Why don't we take a step back? So you've already said a couple of different things. You went to SIBI. You went back to your hometown. People saw you change, saw Christ's transformation of your life very publicly.
Yes.
So why don't you tell me, how did you encounter the gospel? How did you become a Christian? When did you obey? Why don't you just lay it, if you're so kind, just lay it on the table.
Oh yes. Okay. So I actually obeyed the gospel on May 5th of 2016. I was not raised in a home that was necessarily any particular faith. I think that there was an understanding that God is God and Jesus is the Son of God, and but I just necessarily wasn't raised in a particular faith, and so I lived a very not a very good life, out doing worldly things, and so at some point I just realized this can't be life. Like, if this is it, Like, what's the point? Why even bother? I had tried to fill that hole with all kinds of things. And I finally got to a point where I realized the only thing I haven't tried is God. And so it was something I had to seek out later in life. I was in my early 30s. I guess I was probably about, 31 at that point, I think, if I've done the math correctly. And so it was something I had to seek out later. And once I started falling, and of course it was leading up to 2016, but I really had made a commitment back in 13. I decided I know that he's the right track, and I know that I need to be following. This other stuff isn't cutting it. And so I was really falling in love with God. And like I said before, I was in real estate. And as I was falling in love with God, real estate was kind of getting in my way. And so I figured I needed to kind of back up from such a consuming industry.
You say you're falling in love with God. Right, so you tried everything but God. You begin falling in love with God. Real estate's getting in the way. What does that falling in love with God process look like at this point in your life?
Oh, good question. So at that point, I really was taking a really good look at what has not been working in my life. I was always in another relationship that wasn't working out, and just a lot of bad fruit in my life, just no peace. I was not fulfilled. You never can make enough money. You can't have enough, that you're never enough for the world. And so I just started, and it's funny because when I was growing up, I probably didn't read an entire book growing up. I'm not a very good reader. My mom would have to help me with that stuff. And whenever I started falling in love with God, I had 7 books going at one time, like reading stuff about, and my mom is going, who are you? Like, what is, like, this is not the child that I know. And I couldn't get enough. And so as I was matching up, God says to live this, I already know that I should not be having relations prior to marriage. I already know that these things are not what he has for me. It's not it's evident, obviously, that it's not working. And so just started learning more about, I call them life-giving restrictions. Like a fish is restricted to water or it dies. These are life-giving restrictions. This isn't, I don't want you to have any fun, so you're not allowed to do this, and you're not allowed to do this, and you're not. I'm telling you these things because this is life. I'm giving you life-giving restrictions. And so I just started changing my habits, changing my who I was hanging out with just kind of took care of itself. Because if I'm not going to the bar anymore and I'm not going to be out doing this and that anymore, if that was our connection, well, then people just are going to stop calling me.
This was just with you pursuing. This was just the beginning of you pursuing God, really.
Yeah, I hadn't even been added to the body yet. Yeah, so we did a lot of work in those 3 years leading up to me ultimately hearing how one becomes a Christian. Wow. That you actually need to be immersed for the forgiveness of your sins.
Well, and I love the perspective too. This I love what the classic do nots, right? When people think of Christianity, well, these are people that can't do these things, right? And so a lot of times it's thought of that way, but it's not. That from your perspective and where you were seeking God, it's this life-giving restriction. I already knew, right? I love that. I already knew that I didn't have life almost.
Yeah.
And I love that because this is the same type of thing that I went through, right? And so I love that perspective. And so these do nots, where I struggled with the why behind the do nots, you just said, you know what, maybe they're just life-giving restrictions.
I've already felt fantastic. The why not. Like
I
already
awesome.
Felt just that turmoil in my life, and I was out drinking all the time, and it was like, okay, I'm not going to do this anymore. I have to be running out of chances. Like, I have to be. And I would just be out. And then, well, of course, then you punish again. You're trying to numb some pain. And so you go out again. And I go, okay, this is the last time. I drove drunk. I drove someone else home. I'm going, oh my word, like,
What am I doing?
I have to be running out of chances, And, but I just felt like I was made for more than this. This is not what I want to be doing. But there is this constant, I couldn't stop on my own. It wasn't until, we can't have an absence of something. We need a replacement. It's the same thing with we can't concentrate. If you want to change your nutrition, don't focus on, well, I can't have this. I can't have, put as much of the good stuff in your system as you can. And then you crowd out, there's no more room for anything else. And so that is,
Did you try? You talk about, it's not about I can't do this or I can't do that. And it sounds like, I was running out of chances and I just couldn't stop. So, I mean, it sounds to me like you tried. It sounds to me like you tried to stop on your own.
I tried to do, right. I tried the best that I knew to do. Like, okay, I know I shouldn't be doing this. It's obviously not, I don't want to feel like garbage the next day and, put myself and other people in danger. And, I don't want I don't want this to be my life. But that's what sin, I mean, sin has that grip on you, and it's just a perpetual cycle. And so it wasn't until once I decide something, I've decided. And, like I said, God had put some people in my path, and I started paying more attention to him, and, started learning and asking some questions. And I do actually remember that one of the questions I asked a friend of mine was, all right, so like what am I not allowed to do? I'm counting the cost. I'm trying to see, can I hang with this, because I wasn't ready to put but I knew that stuff needed to be put away. I just, you're in that counting the cost where you're trying to figure out, okay, can I hang with this now? Like, am I ready to ultimately, because it's going to change my friends, possibly some of my family. This is gonna shake things up, and you're kind of going into the unknown. So, right. Have you ever been like at a little carnival thing, and where you go through? I guess it would be like the funhouse part, but it's total darkness. You're in the black and you're squeezing through. They have like these walls that like with padding and stuff, and you have to squeeze through. You have no idea how far it's going to be. It feels like forever when you're in it. You're squeezing through this thing. And when you get out on the other end, but in that period of time, you don't know. You're in the dark. You have no idea what's on the other side, how long this is going to be. So there was a period of loneliness. There was a period of, I don't feel like I belong, like I'm a Christian yet, but I know I can't go back to that. And so I was just in the dark trying to, like, I just know I don't care what this is like forward. I'm not going back to that. So Lord, whatever we're doing, I'm moving forward was the end of it. And so
you're moving through, you're moving forward. You're developing this love for God. You're leaving behind what the before, right? That darkness. You're leaving it. You're developing this deep love for God. Because you said that your real estate job is getting in the way. So how was that? Talk about that for a second.
Shout out to Pammy. So it's funny because I had been an office mentor. And so I had about 7 agents that I was mentoring leading up to that. I was completely exhausted. And there was one agent that stood out to me. And so I asked her if she would become my 50-50 partner, and that's Pam Miller. And so she and I start doing business together. And whenever I realized that real estate was just, my heart was changing, and I was starting to move toward, there's got to be something more than than this. Like I got to get out of the rat race and it's a very consuming industry. And so I started giving Pam more responsibility and kind of taking a back. So it's funny how like God kind of set this up so that because I still needed some income coming in. And well, then I actually created a little cleaning business for myself. And I went to because I wasn't busy enough, but it was like, it's mindless. I like cleaning. I know no, I'm going to have like all kinds of phone calls now. We're like, oh, you like cleaning, huh?
Come visit me.
Right. You need a place to stay. But that's actually where I met my cousin's wife, who is the one that gave me muscle and a shovel, which is how I actually learned to obey the gospel. So all of this is coming together, kind of bottlenecking leading up to 2016. So
you started the cleaning business.
Started the little cleaning business, and was also, I know it sounds funny because I was trying to be unbusy, but also at that same time, I started taking classes for Christian life coaching. And it was the stress management and health and wellness track that I went, again, fueled from the fact that I had led this. I mean, I was like hiding in my office, sleeping on my desk, or pulling over on the side of the road and taking a nap. I mean, I was so exhausted, was not taking care of myself. And so God was showing me all kinds of things I don't have you to live that way. You see the fruit that is coming from this, and this is not sustainable here. So I started replacing these habits in my life and these pursuits, and just replacing that with more things that were in line with what God had intended. And so, yes, I think I went off track there for a minute, but
okay. So your job you felt like your job was getting in the way.
Mm-hmm.
You're moving through the darkness into the light. God is setting things up. You start this cleaning business. Now, you've said a couple of times that this was before I was a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know that? Did you know that this was because
I thought I was actually on April 7th of 2013. Okay. I thought I was saved when I, prayed Jesus into my heart, and, but that was the day I made a commitment nonetheless. And I had never looked back. I've never looked back since then. I just didn't realize how a person was actually added to the body, how you actually get your sins forgiven.
So before this date, April 7th, 2013, mm-hmm. Before this commitment, before you prayed Jesus into your heart, mm-hmm. did you think you were a Christian before that?
No, I think there was just this general, I'm not out murdering anyone, or, I was a decent person. I mean, sin just like, the rest of the world, but I wasn't viciously, trying to do anything. I wasn't stealing people's stuff and things like that. So I think I just had this general, I'm a decent person.
Right.
I think that was kind of the extent of it. I think we all kind of have that.
Surely that's good enough.
It's,
because you said that you had grown up with God in your household. So did you have, it
was a basic acknowledgement of the fact that God is God and Jesus is, it was a basic acknowledgement.
Things, lead good lives, everything's okay.
And I don't even know that I ever thought about eternity. I don't know that was ever even a thing. You're thinking about your life right now. Mm-hmm. So I was just thinking, I'm just living the best I know to do.
I'm living my best life.
By my own standards, of course, because how else would you, I'm not going to go and pick someone else and live by their standards. I'm just going to do the best that I know to do. Well, of course, I didn't know there was the gold standard. I didn't know that at the time. Right. So,
okay. So April 7th, 2013, mm-hmm. you make this commitment. Okay. And so to live this commitment out, you're taking a step back from your real estate job. Mm-hmm. You're getting more involved with this cleaning company. or that you created, this cleaning company that you created, and you're getting rid of things in your life and replacing them.
replacing.
You're replacing things in your life that were bad with good things.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And you mentioned a Christian wellness or health, or what was that about?
The Christian life coaching. So Liberty University has an online program, and that's also where recently I have done addiction and recovery counseling courses from there also. So I have a certificate of completion in that stuff, a suicide prevention, and then I also got a full scholarship for becoming a mental health coach. And that I'll be starting those classes in my abundant spare time whenever I'm stationary and I'm in one city for a minute.
I always find it amusing. People who are busy, right, think that they need to become less busy, but the only thing they know how to do is become more busy. So I will become less busy by becoming more busy, and this is how the mind works. Right.
It's as long as we're busy with the right things. That's the ticket.
What I've said, it's learning the level of busyness that you must be.
That's it. It's right. And I'm getting better at
dialing it in.
Here's the thing: is I'm getting better at, like, how I know you and I have talked before. Like, I need alone time every day.
Sure.
Which means that I'm in his presence, that we are in communication, and I'm aware of our connection. I need that time without any other human being around every day. And I also live a slower pace. I do a bunch of things, but it's in a slower pace. So that way I don't necessarily need, well, except for when I'm traveling doing this, but so I don't technically need like I want to live a peaceful lifestyle all the time.
Sure.
So that way I don't want to be on, 12 on a scale of 1 to 10. I don't want to be on a 12 and then have to bring it down to a 0. If I can just, so that's how it works for me. My hobbies are ministry.
Right.
So everything that I do, like my whole life is ministry, but how do you relax from? So that's how I do that. Just kind of, I want to live a more steady pace. And
so you've figured out in his presence how to live, how to grab onto that abundant life, what that looks like for you. Because I mean, it's one of his big promises, right? Mm-hmm. He promised, I've come to give you life and give it abundantly, mm-hmm. right? I am the way, the truth, and life. No man comes to the Father but through me. And it's in this relationship we find this peace. So, it's one of the major fruits of the Spirit. And so you've discovered how to find that in busyness, mm-hmm. as opposed to where you were at before.
Yes.
So before is a little bit more destructive than in your busyness.
Destructive is a good word. Yes, it was more detrimental than, yes.
Well, and we see that in the scriptures, right? In Genesis, God created them, Genesis chapter 1, and everything he created was good, and that included them being naked. Mm-hmm. But after the fall, when we grabbed ownership of that, mm-hmm. right, it wasn't very good anymore. In fact, God covered us in our nakedness. Mm-hmm. So we have the ability to take things that God makes for our good, take them, and as soon as we take them out of his hands, they become bad, right? So
true story.
Yeah. So, okay, April 7th, 2013, you make this commitment. You pray mm-hmm. Jesus into your heart. You think you're a Christian. You're moving forward. It sounds to me mm-hmm. like you're moving forward on fire.
Yes, and a couple months later, was baptized.
Well, but let's break that down. Mm-hmm. You're on fire before obedience to the gospel, it seems.
Yeah.
So what? I mean, I would say that I speak for a lot of people when I say, most people would think that someone like yourself, who thinks of themselves as a Christian, says, is obviously on fire for the Lord, is getting rid of. I mean, it seems to me like you're living that walk with Christ prior to obedience. So
visually on the outside.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
mm-hmm.
elaborate a little bit on that. What was it that made you open to the possibility that you weren't a Christian?
Mm-hmm. Okay. So, I, of course, yes, God was certainly at work in my, and he always has been. I mean, that's in every life. He is at work in every human being's life. I don't care what they're involved in, what they're doing.
Absolutely.
God is there. He knows every one of the souls he has created. So
He wants what's his.
absolutely. And I call him the perfect pursuer. He certainly is. Yes. And so he was obviously at work in my life, and he was convicting, showing me of certain things. And, I remember going into my closet and going, too short, too low, just take, and I'm like, so I kept going, I choose you. As I was, because these were clothes I really liked. And I was going, I choose you, I choose you, I choose you. And I just kept clearing out and getting rid of the things I knew needed to go. And so he was certainly at work in my life. I even remember, and we probably don't have time for some of these stories, but I remember a few specific times that he showed me flat out who he was.
What do you mean?
I do want to tell one story. It was actually on, this is after I had prayed Jesus into my heart and thought I was saved. And I had been attending the little non-denominational that I was a part of. And it was Mother's Day. Okay, now this is important. It was Mother's Day, Sunday, obviously. It was right after worship lets out. Okay, and it's Walmart. It's like I'm going to Walmart.
Oh, okay.
The place is going to be insane.
Sure.
Right? Okay. So I just want to set the stage for the type of journey this is going to be. So I pull into the parking lot and I get this sudden thought, I'm going to pay for someone's stuff. Okay, cool. So I'm all excited, and so I go in, and of course I kind of forget about that as I'm going through. And now I need an actual buggy. Yes, we call it a buggy in Pennsylvania.
So a cart.
Cart. Okay. Translation cart. And so I go and get the cart, and I'm putting and now I'm going, I'm going to be like in the big lane. I'm not going to be able to pay for someone else's stuff. But good idea, Lord, we'll do that next time. Okay. So I go on with my life, and now I get into the lane, and I'm, you're leaning on there, and you're playing on your phone, and I'm not even paying any attention. And there is a college kid in front of me. Actually, I see them come around, and the woman opens up the lane beside me for this college age kid. And subconsciously I noticed it, but I'm just kind of zoning out. What are the chances now that I set up, it's Mother's Day and it's right after worship and it's Walmart, and she just opens up this lane? You're assuming 10,000 people are going to rush and run over into that lane. Not a person. And so fine, it's like I'm getting a nudge, and I go, oh, I guess I could. So here I am meandering, and God's probably like, oh my word. So I go
like a sheep.
Right, exactly, like a sheep. So I go over, I get in the other lane, and now I hear this college age kid, and again, I'm in my own little world, I'm zoning out. And because I had already decided I'm not going to have the money to pay for anybody else's stuff, right? And so I hear subconsciously this kid say, can you run it again? And I kind of look up, and I'm figuring out what's going on. His card isn't working, and all he had was flowers and Swedish fish. He said, all I want to do, he said, this is my last bit of money from school. This is all I have. And, I just want to get my mom these flowers, and she loves Swedish fish. I hear him telling her this. And he's like, can you just run it again? Please just try it again. And I was like, oh my word, I'll get it. I finally realized. And it's that was the day that he showed him and said, no, when we say we're going to do something, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And so there were these, he was doing those kinds of things periodically, things that were like, he would drop an idea in my mind and he would carry it out and show me. And so I lost my train of thought. What was
So what was it that showed you, right? So April 7th, 2013, you're sitting here thinking, I'm a Christian. You're looking at all this stuff. What was it that happened that made you open to this prospect that you
that
weren't?
I actually
so
wasn't
God
in
is
Christ.
showing you these things.
He's right. He's showing himself who he is. And then, like I said, whenever, and actually there were other people who were commenting on, wow, I mean, like you have certainly been gifted with faith. Like that is,
Right, you're
that's
on
a thing.
fire. You're doing all this stuff. You're on fire.
Right. And so then whenever, like I said, I was backing out of real estate, giving Pam more of a, front seat, had my little cleaning thing on the side there and started clean. My cousin was actually my insurance agent, which is why I went to him for the commercial insurance for that, for my cleaning thing. He said, oh, my wife, Kara, has been wanting somebody to clean the house. So, okay. So first clients right there. Well, she is the one who I had asked a question, actually about speaking in tongues. I knew her dad, they had been missionaries and her dad has served decades, decades all over the globe. And I said, she's got to know something. So I asked her a question about speaking in tongues and she gave me what I know now is a very educated answer. And she handed me muscle and shovel and said, here, this might work for you. This might help. And so,
and you're already in a place where you know that God means what he says.
Oh, my word, yes.
So that has
his track record had already been unfolding.
You've already experienced that in your life.
Right. Okay. I mean, I already knew. And I think I even knew, I always had well, God is good. So even if something not good happens, he's still going to use. So I have always somehow had that mentality, that faith in him. Even
and that's a big deal that God is good. Not a lot of people believe that.
Even in like the bad, he is using for good. Like it's always for the best possible outcome. Like I hit my lowest point in 2009. That's where things started heading, in this direction. And so, and I wouldn't take that back for anything. I needed that in order to.
Are you comfortable talking about what happened?
Oh, sure.
In 2009?
2009, yeah. And I think it was just an accumulation of things. It wasn't necessarily like one thing happened, but it was a period where because of my lifestyle, I almost had to get out of real estate. Early in my career, I had only been in for like 3 years. I was working in like a cockroach infested bar to make some money. Here I am being a part of getting people drunk. And I would pull up every day and sit outside of this bar and I would cry for about 15 minutes before I went in. I just couldn't believe that that's what I was contributing to, that's what I was doing with my time and my life and my energy. And again, having my own alcohol stuff going on and, like I said, just broken relationships but that having to be back in a very seedy, nasty, that was just, I had to claim bankruptcy. I had a car get repossessed, just a lot of not good stuff, and just I felt like a loser.
and that's what prompted you, I imagine, to start not only looking at a change in career, but looking towards God as well.
It was, I need to make some better decisions, where I really just was at that point seeking better decisions.
Sure.
And again, still within my own power.
Of course.
But I was looking him a little more. I remember doing a goal sheet, like we would make these, like a poster board with goals, and you would have like your business goals on there, and then they want you to, like, you should actually do like some, personal, like family stuff, personal, like health goals, things like that.
Miscellaneous, spiritual,
just,
maybe throw that in there.
Whatever you're going to have on there. And in the one section, and I still have the poster board. It is one thing I will not get rid of. And it says, church. And my goal was to go one time a quarter.
One time a quarter.
One time a quarter. That was my goal.
Hey, you're a good person. You go one time a quarter.
It's, that's
a goal.
Knocked it out of the park.
We're being glib a little bit.
It just shows that.
But for a lot of people,
progression.
I remember having a very similar goal. I remember when I was hitting a lot of the same beats as you are, right? As you were. I remember having that goal, thinking, man, I got to get my kids. See, for me, it was the kids. I got to get my kids into church, because who's supposed to teach them about God and Jesus if we don't go to church? So I got to get my kids involved, right? And so, we'll go, once a month.
There
right?
you go.
That'll do it. That'll be good, right? So it's similar thought when you're in the world, when you're lost in darkness.
I mean, that's a big step. That's a
huge.
Commitment.
It's huge. It's a commitment.
Right.
It's big. It's a big deal. Okay, so
right, it's uncomfortable, and you're pressing out of your comfort zone.